Hi, Demetrius. How you doing?
Hey, son, I'm good. What about you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah,
You're in Canada, correct?
yeah. I'm in Canada. I live just outside of Toronto. The band's based in Toronto, so we still rehearse there and stuff. And yeah.
I was going to ask the cliché, how's the weather?
Oh man. Why don't I start? Well, let me ask you where you're from then.
I'm in Chicago.
Okay, so you know what inclement weather means.
Yes.
Okay, because I love Chicago. I've been there many times, and I've been caught in blizzards, snow blizzards in April. And I was like, oh, I'm going to the U.S., so I just had a denim jacket, and I hear I'm walking through snow. So
Oh, man.
I remember thinking, yeah, we're from Canada. This is crazy. It's blowing. So the last time we played Chicago was in June, and there was a hailstorm.
So you know what I'm talking about. This is craziness. This is pure
Hands
craziness.
down, Chicago has top prize craziest weather. I don't care what anyone says.
Well, enough with the cliché stuff about the weather. Okay. First of all, how did you or why did you pick the lyric line from Witchwood as the title for the album?
Because it's kind of represented the ethos of the band.
Mm.
Everyone could agree on it. So it actually wasn't my first choice for album title. I wanted to call the album Widdershins, which
Oh,
is actually the name of one of the songs on the record. It's like going against the sun. So there's
winter season.
superstitions like if you walk counterclockwise around a church, you can open yourself up to supernatural threats or bad luck. So I thought that was a compelling title, and we used it for a song. And but as a band, we agreed on the old ways remain. So it's our fifth album. It also seemed kind of like we're referencing ourselves, and it's kind of like it gave us a bit of direction.
Although now I have to find a church to do exactly what you explained. I don't know why people do that. When you say this is something for bad luck, they go straight away and do that.
Mala Suerte, yeah. Yes.
So just by looking at the release dates, right, we will see almost a 7 year gap. So what was the main reason aside from the pandemic? I guess.
Since we began, we've generally stuck to like a 2 or 3 year album cycle.
Of course.
And with our last album, Lord of Misrule, I think we just all been busier as individuals, just with non-band stuff, just taking up our time and energy. And we never want to force songwriting or coming up with materials. So it's never how we've been doing it. It's always kind of been easy to come up with stuff and develop songs in the space as a band. And so we didn't like want to force anything. And the songs were just kind of coming as they do. And then of course, yeah, the pandemic also delayed by a few years because our plan was to go overseas and record in London, England, as we've
Mm-hmm.
done with the last album. So that recording session was canceled because it was in March 2020. It was like 3 days after the NBA shut down. We were supposed to fly.
Oh man.
And the day we were flying, I think the Canadian government, issued a warning about traveling abroad, and possibly closing borders. So we canceled the session. And at the time, we were thinking, are we making a big deal out of this? And then London closed down like a week later, so it would have been canceled if we'd gone anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just the timing of it. And then it became tricky to try to find a time for us all to fly over the next few years. So we decided to record at home,
Mm.
and because we were still excited by the material and we wanted to get the album out.
So after you have gone through this almost pain, because it has to be some stress involved in this, changing plans while you are with your flight ticket in your hand, do you think that moving forward, although I understand it's too early to say this, moving forward you will record in your home studio in your hometown?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of advantages to recording locally, and and some of those opportunities we had were inviting musician friends to join the recording session and come in and, because we recorded at home, we were able to ask our friend Laura Bates from Volor to play fiddle on a couple of tracks, and we had our friend Joseph Shabason guest on the song playing saxophone, and Mike Eckert playing pedal steel. So we were able to have friends from home come in and join the session and expand the sound a bit. And we were also had a bit more flexibility with how long the recording took.
Right.
We're going to go overseas. It'd be like a hard deadline, and the album's done when it's done. And so this was good to kind of be able to go in on weekends, and it's not quite there yet, and then being able to finally say, yeah, we think it's done. So I think to your question, I think we will stick locally going forward. I mean, we've recorded a few albums in Toronto. Our second album was actually recorded in Chicago.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
We did our second album, Living with the Ancients. Sanford Parker recorded that with us. We did it at Semaphore and Electrical Audio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we love Chicago.
So I'm glad you mentioned the guests that you have in the album, and I wanted to see behind the curtain and see how does the idea of let's bring saxophone. This is, I think, there must be the first time you're using saxophone, if I'm not mistaken, and then pedal steel. I mean, those are ultra specific choices.
The saxophone references are kind of far and wide. I mean, we listen to all kinds of music, and from, I guess we were thinking of the Stooges Funhouse. We were thinking of some select krautrock bands, and really we just thought it might add a little bit of a sleaze element to the song, because, I mean, lyrically it was inspired by some Jess Franco songs, and it had a kind of a different vibe from the other songs on the record. And it definitely was set in a very specific groove, and the saxophone just made sense. That just seemed like the right addition. So that was an early on decision. With the pedal steel, I think Alia wrote that song, Heck It, and she had this arrangement in her mind with the song and the lyrics, and so that was something that she heard, I guess, in her mind, kind of fleshing out the song. So, and with the fiddle, we take a lot of inspiration from some Brit folk bands like Fairport Convention, and so we've had fiddle in songs on previous records, and Laura's a good friend, and we've recorded with her before, so that was a no-brainer.
And you have violin on Mossy Wood. It was your wife's, or did you work with your wife to write this song?
She wrote the song, yeah. So that song was written by Amy Bowles. It was written for a band that I was in with her several years ago called Hollow Earth.
Okay.
And it's a Toronto-based psychedelic rock band, so they subsequently changed lineups, released a great album, and they've since broken up. But that was a band that she'd written the song for, and the song had never been recorded, so I thought it was a great song, and I just thought it'd be great to get it out there. And then Lucas had a great idea for how to arrange it for us, and it just kind of seemed to fit in with the other songs and the overall vibe of the record.
This particular one reminds me of Skyclad, of early Skyclad, for whatever the reason. There is the violin, there is the folk atmosphere, so it goes. Although I'm sure it goes way before those guys.
No, I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I'm always very interested to hear, if you listen to the album, like what references you're hearing, or what these songs are making you think of. Yeah, I mean, for us, I know Alia added a bit of synthesizer to this song, and that was a bit of a nod to Mandy Morton and Spriggans.
Okay.
Which is she was a English singer in the 70s and had a very dark folk rock group. There's a great album she did called Magic Lady. if you took that record and just read the lyrics, it reads like it's like a heavy metal record.
A lot of albums from from those decades, have those cryptic, occult, if you may. This is why we call them now pre-doom, right, or pre-stoner, some cases.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And I found that with a lot of the proto doom, proto metal stuff. Yeah, I mean the lyrics are wild, the bands are heavy and wild, and they didn't produce albums in the way they did in the 90s and the 2000s, where you'd really have this like emphasis on the low end and stuff. But those bands were heavy and crazy. And then I've always found with the British folk rock, like the lyrics are very dark, like even with Fairport Convention, they're like about murder and magic. And if you, again, compared the lyrics with some heavy metal records, you'd find a lot of, they're like kindred spirits.
Or maybe back then they were more free, if you know what I'm saying. Right now, it seems like bands want to write in specific boxes, right? And they have the lyrics to match the music. And this kind of becomes repetitive and same old, same old. But back then, they were free. So they were letting their imagination roam wild.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that. And you can see, this is before a lot of these like different genres developed. So
Right.
If you look at festival lineups from the 70s, like Isle of Wight and these different festivals, you get heavy rock bands, you get jazz groups, you get Joe Cocker, you get, The Who, and it was a real mixed bag. And I've always thought that was pretty cool. I like the idea of going to a festival and hearing a lot of different types of music,
Right.
I think a lot to be said for like, genre-specific festivals too, but I like a bit of a mixed bag as well.
Yeah. Well, now everything is driven so much with money, by money maybe. So they have to satisfy to attract a specific clientele, but that's something we don't want to get into. But you drew inspiration from Stranger Things for the Hellfire Club, right? I'm joking, man.
I was going to say, in hindsight, maybe there was something in the ether. I don't know. But that was like that was a funny thing. And it kind of we had a minute where we were like, should we go back and like just change the name of the song? And then we're like, nobody's going to care. But I was in Toronto and I was near the Metro Convention Center. And I just remember seeing a kid in a Hellfire Club shirt. Oh, that's cool. And then I turned the corner and there's like 20 kids in Hellfire Club shirts. And I thought, shit,
Damn it.
I'm going to go back to the drawing board. But no, it was just, we thought it was pretty funny and had a laugh about it. And I've seen a few of the shows now, and it's pretty fun.
Well,
stuff.
that's fine. That's okay. I mean, why? And then Eugene, is this from the 1970 movie?
Yeah, it's kind of based on not a specific film, but like I guess a period of those films from the early 70s, like the Jess Franco Eurocene movies, and it's not meant to be about those films, but I guess when I was trying to come up with some ideas, and that kind of got the ball rolling, I guess. And there is a couple films. There's a film called Eugenia, Her Journey Through Perversion.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
With Christopher Lee, which is a great film. And there's another one called Eugenia de Sade, with Soledad Miranda, and that's another great film. But I like Jess Franco because he's pretty wild, and like again, it's kind of like heavy metal filmmaking. It was like extreme, it was like sensational, and lots of gore and wild stuff. So I've always just liked those films, and then that kind of had us going on that kind of sleazy groove track with that particular song.
Yeah, this is another artistic sector, if you may, that nowadays has become so digital that has lost that originality, and now everything is CGI. And anyways, I don't want to sound like an old man, but
This is a safe space. You can sound like a grumpy old man and say, "I'll be right there with you, man." Like I don't like a lot of the new horror films that come out for the same reasons. Like the CGI effects just don't have the same. They just don't have the same effect. I don't mind cheap effects if they're done well and they're imaginative.
Right,
That's
right.
what's missing now is stories and originality.
And it's
And
crazy to me. Now you have all this technology in your disposal, and this is what you create. Come on, man.
I'm sure there's a lot of great films coming out. It's just,
Sure, of course.
they don't get the backing, I guess.
How did you connect the cover art, the album's cover artwork, and the lyrics? I mean, what input did you give to the artist to create that album, that drawing?
Well, the sleeve was designed by our friend Anik Giroux,
Mhm.
and we've been friends a long time. She's designed like T-shirts and album covers for us in the past. She designed our first record sleeve, and so the cover is a detail from a book. It's a drawing by Aubrey Beardsley from. It was done in the 1890s, and he was like I guess that like a decadent Art Nouveau illustrator who, a lot of his drawings are a bit wicked, and they have like these wisps of darkness. It could be like a witchy image, or it could just be something else, and so everything about the decadent 1890s, that like end of the century and the fascination with the occult. I mean, I find that he's like that artist that represents that era. So. And then his work was kind of revived in the 1960s. A lot of psychedelic groups and designers would use Beardsley imagery and images. So that's the cover that we gave, and Anik laid out the rest of the sleeve with a kind of color design in mind and stuff. And we loved it. We thought it fit the mood of the music quite well.
Blood Ceremony have not toured with Anik's group, right? And it's Anik's band.
Yeah, we played them a number of times, and she lives way out in Quebec in the middle of nowhere. She has this like beautiful plot of land with a stone mill. It looks like her house could be an album cover.
But I was about to say that. And there is this special Die Hard edition. It's already sold out, and you have two interesting tracks there. First, it's Power of Darkness. That's a demo, correct? And the other one. I saw the credit says Falling from Iron Maiden. And I said, what? What song is that? And I had no idea. Man, how did you dig this song? You have to give me more information on how did you come up with that cover?
Sure. Yeah, no, it's funny. That group was obviously before the world famous Iron Maiden that we know and love. They're a group from England in the early 70s, and they put out a record. I must have come across that track. I think it was on a Donor Rock compilation that came out maybe 20 years ago. But I used to work in record stores and would always be looking for old heavy psych records, and became a bit of an obsession for me to find all this great music. And when stoner rock was quite big, you'd hear all these groups from the 70s that were in many cases kind of heavier and darker, and the Iron Maiden, that track has always kind of resonated with me. There's a bit of sounds a bit familiar, like if you like Jethro Tull, and the riff is kind of like almost like a riff on that Bach beret styling. So we love that song. We used to cover it. We played it like 10 years ago in a few shows, and so when I think we were testing out the studio, and we just went in and recorded that track, and so it seemed like a good fit for like a Die Hard release with the record.
Still, for those of us who didn't have the chance to get it, are there plans to cut more 7-inches and sell them individually, maybe?
We've just really been focused on getting this album out now.
True.
And we have a tour coming up. But down the road, yeah, I love doing 45s. I don't know that they sell as well as albums, but I love collecting 7-inch records. And for anyone out there that enjoys them. I mean, we would be interested in doing more. So yeah, it's safe to say we'll be doing some more 7 inches, maybe.
Okay, not down my name, because I will be the first one to buy.
Yeah, we love doing covers. We've done quite a few covers over the years. We've covered The Who and Jethro Tull and Iron Claw from Scotland. So any song that kind of resonates with us, we end up kind of jamming.
Of course.
Eventually it's probably going to end up on wax if we have our way.
So you mentioned the tour that you have with Uncle Acid. This is for the UK and Europe. What about the rest of the year, especially after the album will be released?
I think later in the year we'll be doing some Canadian dates. So we're working on setting up, Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, and one thing we really want to do is get back to the States. So we haven't done a tour in the States for quite a few years. I'd mentioned Chicago. So, we do one-off shows now and again when we can. And we did Chicago in 2019 at the Chicago Doom and Stoned. I think it was at Reggie's maybe. But next thing for us would be trying to get back down and playing the U.S.
So again. Do you know if it will be after the summer or...
I don't know yet if we'll be able to do it in 2023.
Okay.
But possibly next year, if there's interest, we'll try to put dates together in the States. We've also been working on a music video. So we've got a promo video that's being cut right now for Powers of Darkness. And we're pretty excited about that. I think it's going to come out quite well.
So will this be the only music video, or are there plans to shoot another one?
We'll probably try to do another one later this year if we can make it happen. We will. That's the plan, anyway. Plans, as I've learned, plans sometimes go sideways. So.
Oh man, of course. Especially the last 2 or 3 years, we are making plans and the gods are laughing. Correct?
That's right.
Son, thank you very much for your time. Is there anything that you would like to say that I forgot to ask? Because honestly, I digressed a lot because the conversation went so well, and I didn't have to look at my questions at all.
No. Thank you for the interview. Yeah, no, it's been a great conversation, and we're excited to finally get this record out. It's been a few years in the making, so it's a great feeling to have that release date coming up soon. We hope everyone enjoys it, and we hope to get to play a lot more in the next few years. So we're still very much an active band, and just want to thank everyone for the support over the years.
Absolutely. Have safe travels, and hopefully see you in Chicago.
Great. Thanks. Nice talking to you.